And again, you can look for that full interview in a couple of weeks. On to our final topic now, as we've grown curious about what's afoot in the Democratic Party. In the House, 4 Democrats have announced they won't run again. Some of those seats are safely Democratic, but 2 of them are 2018 blue wave gains that Republicans want back. In the Senate, the list of Democratic senators who have drawn primary opposition is growing as the party's progressive wing flexes its muscles, Diane. In this election normal cycle news, or do you feel as though there's something deeper going on with Democrats here?
Very simply, I think they want to replicate what they did in 2018 in the House, taking over, I believe it was 7 or 8 seats they gained in the House. And a couple of them were from Republican heaven. I mean, the far northeast heights. I mean, we were astounded, and not just Republicans, but many Democrats were so astounded that they were able to gain those 2 seats. Jimmy Halls particularly.
That's right.
So the thing about the 4 Dems, those 4 seats you mentioned, 2 of those are traditionally Republican seats. Bill Pratt won, that was Larry Larrañaga's seat. And so they're accustomed to voting for a conservative, they're accustomed to doing, so I think it depends on how good the candidate is. It was, and how good the Democratic legislator game plan is. If they're still using the same game plan, they might be able to hold it with another Democratic candidate. But anytime you have an open seat, it's a greater risk.
That's a good distinction.
Jim Trujillo in Santa Fe, that's a safe Democratic seat. Joe Sanchez in Alcalde is the Four Hills area with Akil, the first Muslim who has ever been elected in New Mexico. He is stepping down, and he hasn't really said why. Family and those kinds of things. Grandchildren. But you kind of go, okay. But anyhow.
I've wondered. That's a fair way to put it.
It kind of surprises me.
Sure.
That is traditionally, I mean, that was Marty Lambert's seat forever and ever and ever. And then took out a first-timer Republican. So I think that's very much in play. Now, the primary opponents, I mean, come on. I think Clemente Sanchez is safe. He is a banker. He's been in the community. He's been a county commissioner. He's been all those kinds of things. I think he's safe. Depends, again, on the ground game they put up against him. John Arthur Smith has had opposition, primary opposition, and been able to pull his off. And he's pretty strong in his district as a person. The other, you want?
That's right. Keep on.
Just the other quick question. Mary Kay Papen is, I mean, she can trade on Senator Papen's name, who is a Democrat. She's a Democrat, but she's a conservative Democrat. But even the first Senator Papen, Joe, was a conservative back in the day in the 80s and 90s. The races that I think are more interesting go back to that game plan, that ground game. And that's the 2 Republican seats in the Northeast Heights the Democrats have filed candidates against. Mark Moores, and then the other one, of course, is Senator Bill Payne, who's retired Navy admiral. I
got to swing these guys in. No sweat. That recap was perfect, actually, to set this up. Perfect. Interesting. Let's go to the Senate side for real quick here. Those folks have had opponents in the past, but something's different in the air this year.
I can tell you one thing that's very different in the air, and that's that vote on the abortion bill.
Yes.
Because
it still stings for a lot of people.
Those folks, I'll just use the word, they double-cross the advocates. They had promised they were going to vote to overturn, for our listeners that don't know, the 1969 abortion bill that will make abortion completely illegal in New Mexico if Roe is overturned. And there are over 20 challenges to Roe working their way to the Supreme Court as we speak. So it's going to be a huge issue in every election next year. But those folks that basically said they would vote to overturn that old law, and then they didn't. The advocates are mad. They're out there working. They're going to be working in these challenges in the primaries. The party has stayed out of it, appropriately so. But believe me, there's work behind the scenes. Now, they're not all listing abortion at the top of the list
That's right.
as to why they are challenging these folks. But believe me, it is there and it is strong. And one more thing I will
Please.
say, all the challengers to those 4 seats are female candidates.
Right.
And that is something
Except
that
in
is...
Bill Payne's. The primary is Dr. Martin Hickey.
No, I mean the four
No, the 4 Democrats?
The
Right.
4 Democrats that voted against the abortion bill.
That's right.
It's all 4 challengers are females. 3 of those guys are guys, and that's going to play into it, whether it's said out loud or not.
That's right. Interesting. Good.
Whether it's said out loud or not, I think that's the issue.
I see.
And, people are very angry about that. It should have passed. And as Martha said, they promised that they were going to vote for it.
Is it enough to flip a
Decided.
Senate seat, though?
On
on its own, I don't think
it's
it is.
not the only
of course,
issue.
yeah.
There's
Sure.
was legalizing cannabis in our state is another issue, and what was going on with early childhood development.
is big, yeah.
So that was also that education issue. So there's more than one issue. And so what I will say is that it is up to the voters. It is also going to be up to the ground game of their opponents to say, who do we want? And if the Democrats in those districts say, we don't like that you did it either,
Right.
then they're going to be gone.
However, there is pushback from some of those sitting senators Democrats that said, look, I'm voting what my constituents wanted me to do on this abortion thing.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
Do you know what I mean? And so-
But they did.
I do know.
They're citing that there's, what's his name, Sanchez.
Yes.
He said it's a rural district. So what? Women in rural parts of the state have unintended pregnancies. They have risky pregnancies.
They have reproductive
more
rights.
risk.
And
And- thank you.
another dynamic
right.
here, which is,
Please.
although there's still a great deal of uncertainty, I think, and concern in the Democratic Party about what's going to happen with the presidency, there is also hope that 2018 will be reproduced, that Democrats down the line will get voted in. If you have an opportunity now to put a more progressive Democrat into some of those districts that have voted Democrat but for conservative Democrats, now is the time, because they may be able to get in. Yes, a district may have traditionally voted Republican, but we've seen this in Albuquerque districts, places that we have thought about as Republican. Suddenly, Democratic voters turn out. It's not just who lives there; it's who shows up to vote. And I think there's a real hope in the Democratic Party that this election, the 2020 election, will be a sweep.
wave election.
Yes,
Right,
a wave or a
right.
sweep
Another
election.
way to put it.
And that we'll get passed with a
right.
Democratic governor
Right.
and a Democratic legislature. They'll be able to push past Papin, they'll be able to push past John Arthur Smith and get some priorities, like Catherine was talking about, get some priorities taken care of that should be able to get through a Democratic legislature.
Right. I'm curious, Senator, what constitutes a palatable, more progressive Democrat in places like Silver and Deming and Las Cruces? Do you know what I mean? Is there such a person?
No, there isn't.
Okay.
There isn't. I mean, it would be an absolute phenomenon if they take over those seats, a true progressive. And so far, we haven't had enough information to know whether the candidates they have running are very liberal progressive or whether they are moderate progressives.
Right.
Because you're still, anytime you have had turnovers, it's still been a moderate version in that district.
Right.
It just like the Senate district I represented, very flexible, more Democratic registration than Republican, but you still had to have moderate Democrats taking over the district. So it's like those issues are important, but the people in Silver City, it's more important whether Freeport-McMoran is working and producing copper than it is whether my wife has to go to Albuquerque to get an abortion.
Right.
So it's a truly different kind of phenomena in those rural areas.
We'll have to watch how that plays. That's going to have to do it for this week, unfortunately. The news has been coming fast and furious. I appreciate all you women being here today, by the way. It's been a great table. Thank you. Oh, I like this. I like
My
this.
pleasure, ladies.
We are.
And then we have to do a group
Oh, yay!
Kumbaya.
kumbaya.
Goodbye.
See you again.
We'll adopt you as a lady today. How's